The Shark Deck.
I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Hannah Berner spoke to Elite Daily, who asked Hannah, hey, your comedy videos have taken over TikTok, and you're on tour now for stand-up. Was there one specific moment where you knew you wanted to switch to comedy full-time? Hannah said, it definitely came from a really dark time. I was 25 and selling t-shirts. The 9 to 5 was making me really depressed, and I panicked. I realized this couldn't be the rest of my life, and I'd have to make a change. I knew I wanted to be on camera. For a lot of women, it's looked down upon to want to be seen and take up space, but I realized if I didn't do it, I was going to be sad my whole life, so I started manifesting working in video. Soon, I started as a video producer, and then I was on TV in Summer House. Now I'm in my silly goose era with comedy and podcasting. Hannah's account has 2.6 million followers. How's the response been in the comments? Hannah said, for the most part, the comments been pretty great because it's clear that everything I'm posting is comedy, so people are just reacting to that. But when it goes too viral, the incels find the video and start commenting, women aren't funny. It's a little scary. Like, what time period are we in? You could say you don't find my video funny, but do we have to put the blame on an entire gender? Don't bring all women into this. Good question here. Have the crowds at your shows changed since you started going viral on TikTok? Hannah said, it's crazy because the TikTok algorithm is so good. It really finds the people who not only have a similar sense of humor, but could also be my friends. I'm very biased, but the girls that come to my show are all hot, successful, cool, self-deprecating, anxious girlies. Hey, if I were 30 years younger, I'd hit the show. I feel like I'm at brunch talking to my friends. Now, because I've been joking more about boyfriends and dating, a lot more men have been coming to shows because they love getting made fun of. Also, they probably heard that all the women come to the show are hot, successful, and cool. But the men love getting made fun of. I love that. I think the audience is more fun when it's a mix because there's tension and chemistry to work off. I ask men questions that make them uncomfortable. That was the premise at first. Once I got started, my female friends called me out and were like, hey, you got to stop posting dudes. What about supporting other women? Then I realized these girls are willing to talk about really embarrassing stuff too. My most viewed video on TikTok with 33 million views, says the middle-aged dude sitting in his basement, is me asking women how often they shave, things you would shave. How do you see real women in the street discussing that? John, read the articles in advance so that doesn't happen to you. So with the men, it's a little bit more about making fun of them. For women, it's focused on the stuff we're usually scared to talk about. Roy Wood Jr. told Salon that late night needs innovation. I don't think the way we've constructed late night will continue to be the way we see it post-strike. There's going to be a lot of cuts, in my opinion. I hate to talk like that, but I'm a realist. The idea of having a daily conversation about the things that have happened in the country and are happening or holding people in power accountable, that avenue is still viable. How you present that has to evolve in a way that I'm guessing needs to be cheaper and faster to be truly resonant with people. I'll jump in. I'm shocked none of the streamers have started putting on a traditional 11:30 type show at 8, Fallon, I think, tapes at 5:30. You could have that ready for 8 o'clock and put that up. Or I'm surprised there's not a Netflix version of a daily. I guess they tried Chelsea Handler, right? I feel like there's a market there. Anyway, Roy Wood says, you just got to be real. If you stop doing James Corden leaves, right? Then you replace him with a game show at midnight, which was a hit for Comedy Central. It's a perfectly fine program, but it's way cheaper to make than James Corden. So that tells me you're trying to cut costs. If you're trying to cut costs, then that means that all this glitz and the band and the desk and all that, we might be looking at the last of the Mohicans on that. I'm talking Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, Colbert. You know what I'm saying? The idea of having a daily conversation about the things that have happened in the country. Our shows shoot at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. They air at 11:30. News changes faster than that now. You almost have to go 9 o'clock or live. If you're making tomorrow's internet today, which is a lot of late night in some regards, then we have to figure out a way to do it in a way where the conversation truly resonates with people immediately. I don't know what that looks like yet. I think that's why I'm also trying to spend my time ideating. Roy said, we could come back from the strike and Comedy Central can do the Daily Show. It'll be perfectly fine. It'll work. But I just feel like after every strike, there's a creative molting that happens within the industry, especially on the unscripted side. You got to be ahead of the curve on that. The Daily Show itself is an institution. It'll evolve. I don't think The Daily Show is going anywhere. I think it's too important a piece of Comedy Central and Paramount. It still has a lot of worth. We get a lot of great guests. But what will it look like? From Jon Stewart to Trevor, the major change in the way we were thinking. We use sketch a lot more. We use the internet a lot more. Trevor's younger. Trevor understood that. Trevor was plugged in. Jon Stewart wasn't really. They had to drag him onto Twitter. I love him, but he knows that's the truth. Trevor came in and figured out, okay, this could be a 4 minutes of camera segment of me just going, or we can let Klepper, Roy, and Dulce do a sketch that says the exact same thing. Then the sketch is something that people digest more. It's good stuff from Roy. Very insightful. Obviously, he's worked on the show for quite some time and understands it. He continues, when The Daily Show was created, the way we got the news collectively as a society was all the same. We all got our news from MFer at a desk with a suit and some whiskey under the table. We all got our news, 95% of us. So you could parody that and it'd be a perfect one-to-one. We got our news from all over the place now. The way we got our news looks a million different ways. People don't even care if you have a suit on or not. I can go on TikTok right now and right there, I can't think of his name, but it's a dude with a beard. I know that's not enough a description. Thanks, Roy.
Do you love your Peloton?
Oh, I sure do.
Well, I know you do because you started a podcast about one. If you love your Peloton and can't get enough of it and all the news that goes along with it, you should check out our show. It's called The Clip Out. It's a great place to go for instructor news, new classes, motivational tips, corporate machination.
We don't just tell you the news, we also give you our thoughts on why things are happening. And each week we also interview a member of the Peloton community. Sometimes it's, somebody like me, just a regular person riding their bike.
Sometimes it's snooking.
You never know.
You never know.
The Clip Out is about anyone who loves their Peloton.
Every week we take you behind the scenes and inside the world of Peloton. The Clip Out is available wherever you get your podcasts or check out our website,
theclipout.com.
From the Sydney Morning Herald, Fortune Feimster said, I didn't have representation growing up and it did affect me coming out later on. Maybe if I'd had representation, it would have been different, you know? And now that I get to be the representation that I so wished I had when I was younger, that's like a trippy full circle moment. The Morning Herald writes, often a fan will approach Fortune to reveal for the first time that they're gay. The fact that they've never told a single person ever, but now they're telling me, I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm part of this person's coming out story forever. I really take that to heart. I've had parents tell me they've had inklings of their kid being gay, so they watched one of my specials with them to show that they're cool with it. And then the kid felt comfortable enough to come out. I even had a straight guy call in on a radio show to say he had never really thought about how difficult it was for a gay person to come out, and it really made him understand that in a new way. Of course, I started crying. Alex Edelman is the star of the one-man show Alex Edelman Just for Us. That's now on Broadway. He spoke to CBS and said, you think of an idea for a show. Don't make it a musical about the guy from the $10 bill or a play about salesmen dying. Those ideas taken. Come up with something original. For me, it was pretty easy because my show is based on something that happened to me, which is I went to a meeting of white nationalists. Uncomfortable, a little, given that I'm a Jew, but good for comedy. So step one, think of your show, then get it to Broadway. That part's less easy. Here's how I got mine. First, I put up the show in a pub behind a London shoe store. Then I worked it out in smaller venues and at festivals. That took about 3 years. The thing about getting your show to Broadway, if you really want to get it there, you have to think it's never going to get there. You have to love your show and be happy to perform it anywhere you can. Unless you're Andrew Lloyd Webber, he needs a big stage. All those cats aren't going to fit in a pub behind a shoe store, are they? Anyway, the show went up off Broadway and, believe it or not, sold out like 160 shows in a row, mostly because of the New York Times and Sarah Jessica Parker saying nice things. A year later, I found out I was going on Broadway, and I thought, maybe now my uncle will stop asking me about law school. What's it like being on Broadway instead of off? It feels absolutely the same, except not at all. First of all, it's literally the nicest theater I've ever been to. The seats are for human-sized butts. Second of all, it's Broadway. As for my show, it's about killing a mockingbird. And he says, just kidding. As I said earlier, it's a solo show and it represents a lifelong dream coming true. See you there. Gummy bears are $8. That's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow. Who doesn't like vacations? Do you need some inspiration for your next road trip? Are you excited to get out there and explore the world again? Hi, I'm Johnny Mac. My podcast is called Travel is Back. Travel is Back is travel for regular people. We hop in the car, we fly coach, we use our miles, we eat at normal places, we stay at normal places. So what I do is I hop in the car, I grab my portable recorder, and I go somewhere. Season 3 kicks off with a road trip to Key West. You can check out the back catalog. There are popular episodes covering Chicago, Nashville, Vancouver, Seattle, a whole bunch more. Travel is Back, road trips for regular people. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your shows. These are quick, these are casual, and it's for regular people like you. Travel is Back.